One of the great horror novels, and one of the very first of what we'd call science fiction novels, was Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which was first published in 1818. By reconstructing some personal events and by consulting astronomers, we know exactly when Shelley came up with the idea for her monster. Late in the spring of 1816, 18-year-old Shelley was at a villa in Lake Geneva, Switzerland with some friends. It was a dark and stormy night, so everyone at the house amused each other by telling ghost stories. These conversations went well past midnight. Shelley couldn't sleep and later recounted a dream she had about a scientist bringing dead tissue to life using electricity. She awoke from her dream to find, and this is very important, moonlight streaming through her bedroom window. 2 years later, the book was done. Well, so what? Well, there were people for whom details are very important. A group of Frankenstein fans, who just happened to be astronomers, were determined to nail down exactly when Frankenstein was conceived. They went to the villa on the Lake Geneva shoreline, and through some very careful lunar, topographical, and architectural measurements, determined that the only time the moon could have shone brightly at the right angle through Mary Shelley's bedroom window was just after 2 a.m. on June 16th, 1816. That's the actual moment when Frankenstein was born. If you're a fan of horror, that's a pretty cool secret. If you're a fan of rock, here are a few more.
This is The Secret History of Rock with Alan Cross.
Welcome again, I'm Alan Cross, and coming up on this edition of the program, a comparison of what bands sounded like before they broke up and after the reunion. We'll look at the offspring of some famous rockers to see if they followed in their father's or mother's footsteps. We'll review what happened in 1985, and we'll catch up on the current whereabouts of some names that you know well. Earlier this year, someone asked me to define some musical terms because they were confused. What does indie mean? What about alternative? And what do people mean when they say major label? Well, let's start with that one. A major label is one of the large multinational recorded music conglomerates. They include Universal, based in France, and is the biggest one of the bunch, Sony, who are Japanese, Warner Music Group, who are American, and EMI, which used to be British, but after some financial issues ended up being reluctantly owned by a bank in Chicago. Each of these massive companies operates sub-labels. For example, Universal Music Group includes Motown, Interscope, Def Jam, Island, Mercury, V2, Polydor, Fontana, Verve, London, Decca, and a ton of others, all acquired through various mergers and acquisitions. Warner includes Atlantic, Elektra, Maverick, Asylum, Sire, Rhino, and several dozen more. Same with Sony, same with EMI, lots of subsidiary labels all reporting back to the mothership. Green Day, for example, records for Reprise, a label founded by Frank Sinatra in 1960. He ran it for a couple of years before selling it to Warner Brothers in 1963. Warner Brothers bought it and merged with a bunch of other labels until they became known as the Warner Music Group that we see today. So that's why when, say, you look at your copy of Nimrod from 1997, the label is credited to both Reprise and Warner.